We're about to replace a wheel bearing on the Mighty Max, and I'm pretty sure it's this front one on the driver's side, but I'm going to lift it up and check it out. All right, let's take the wheel off. Now we're going to take the grease cap off. Now you can kind of see there's a cotter pin right there I got to take out, and then I can remove the locking nut. Now we can take this nut off. Looks like it's a 30 mil. Much better. And this nut shouldn't really be that tight. I'm going to leave it on there a little bit while I take off the brake caliper. We got the old double wrench trick to bust her loose. Easy. Caliper's got a big, or the disc has a big lip on it from the brake pads wearing into the disc. Got her off. Okay, we can finish taking this nut off now. Nice. And there comes our hub. I can feel when I turn this bearing, it's crunchy. So, that's no good. Well, it's hard to catch it on video, but the race looks perfect. Now we're going to take out the wheel seal. I have a new one, so hopefully I got the right one. There it goes. How's this bearing? How does this bearing feel? This bearing feels fine. Just fine. So it must have been the outer bearing making all the noise. Well, how shall I proceed? The outer bearing's definitely crunchy. Inner bearing, Buttery smooth. Probably not supposed to do this, but I think I might just replace the outer bearing and see what happens. I'm doing this for science. I'm gonna go for it. I think I'm gonna reuse the old race too, just because why not? F it. All right, let's grease it up. All right, we got the bearing packer here. Put the new bearing in here. It's got this cone on it that will fit into the other side of the new bearing. And then you can see the grease all squished up through it from those holes down in the bottom. It's full of grease now. That's what we want. Get some grease, grease it up. Perfect. All right, we're gonna put the new seal in. I don't have a seal installer right now, but I'm gonna make it work. So first I'm gonna grease it up. And the seal should just sit flush with the edge of the hub. Doesn't need to go in any further than that. It's in there a little tiny bit crooked, so I might try to get this side down a little bit to even it out. But good enough. It's rubber. Hopefully it'll flex a little tiny bit and be okay. Now we can flip her over. And put in our new bearing. It doesn't feel crunchy. It doesn't really feel like anything, but we'll see how it do. Now we can reinstall the hub back onto the spindle. And we want to make sure we get the seal on the back side of it seated. And I think it's good. Next, we put this little washer with the index tab in the slot in the spindle. I'll get the light turned back on here. Now we put the nut back on. All right. Turns nice and smooth. Tightening bearings is kind of an art form, and I'm not perfect at it, but I usually tighten the nut until it's too tight to make sure everything is seated properly, and then I'm gonna back it off a little bit. And there's no play. The bearing turns freely. Maybe not quite as freely as it could, but I think that's pretty good right there. So now, we just have to get the cotter pin hole lined up. I think it goes straight vertically. And Gonna go get a new cotter pin. Put that in. And bend it so it doesn't come back out. I'm trying to only bend one side of it. There we go. I don't know what the right way to bend the cotter pins is either, but I don't really think it matters a whole lot as long as you do it so they don't come back out. Although I could be wrong about that. Okay, I'm gonna cut the little tip off of the cotter pin just in case it might interfere with my grease cap. And now we're gonna put the grease cap back on. These are just press fit. Sometimes these can be really hard to get them started too, but this one's old and been on and off many times. It doesn't quite want to seat fully. Maybe I'll try these to try to seat it completely. I don't think that worked. Maybe. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Just as long as it's on there and it's not gonna fall off. Shouldn't. Okay. Let's put our wheel back on. No, let's put our brake caliper on first. You need those. Help you stop. Hopefully, I can get it on. Actually, let me wipe this rotor off first as well. I don't want to contaminate my brake pads with grease. All right, let's see if I can get this on without too much trouble. Yeah, it's going. There we go. I'm gonna let the car down and turn the steering wheel so I can get at these bolts easier. Nice. If this were not my car, I would definitely replace both the bearings and the races and re-grease everything. But I like trying to do as little as possible just to see what actually matters or what was actually wrong. And I don't really mind doing things again. Okay, torque spec is tight, but not crazy tight. Anyway, there's actually a torque spec for this, but I'm not gonna bother looking it up. The torque spec for almost everything is tight enough that it doesn't come loose and not too tight that it breaks or it gets stuck. So that's good enough for me. Now we put our wheel back on and go for a test drive. These are Toyota wheels, and the center bore of these wheels is bigger than the hub of this truck. I'm not running any hub-centric spacers, and I haven't had any problems. I just try to make sure the lug nuts are all seated right. Having 6 of them helps. There we go. And I torque them to 90 foot-pounds usually. I don't know what the spec is, but that's just what I made up. We're cruising around 40 or 50 miles an hour. I could hear it grinding before. So let's see how we do. I think it's fixed. I don't know how fast I'm going, but probably about 50. Oh, my speedometer's broken. Anyway. I'm going to count this as a win and move on to my next project. And I will be dailying this truck, so we'll find out how long this fix lasts. Alright, thanks for watching.